Game engines quietly shape almost everything you feel while playing a game. Movement, physics, lighting, AI. A lot of the biggest moments in gaming history happened because developers either created a new engine or completely pushed an old one past its limits. This is for anyone who's heard terms like Unreal or Unity, but never really understood what actually is a game engine. Why do they matter so much, and why do studios spend millions building their own? To really understand why game engines matter so much, we need to rewind. Like, way back. Back to when games barely had engines at all. Early games in the 70s and early 80s were usually built almost completely from scratch. There wasn't really a reusable system yet, but eventually developers realized something important. Why are we rebuilding movement, physics, rendering, and collision every single time? And that idea slowly became what we now call a game engine. A game engine is basically a giant toolkit that handles the core systems of a game. Graphics, physics, audio. Instead of rebuilding all of that from zero every time, developers can build the actual game on top of those systems. Think about it like a car. When a company builds a car, they usually don't reinvent the engine, brakes every single time. They use an existing system as the foundation, then build their specific car around it. Later, they design the custom outer body, the paint job, the interior leather. Game engines work the same way. One of the earliest real game engine systems was Scum, created by LucasArts in 1987 for Maniac Mansion. At the time, adventure games were moving away from text parsers toward visual layouts with complex puzzles. So LucasArts built Scum to isolate the game scripts from the hardware, making development much faster and easier. But one of the earliest huge turning points happened in the 90s, especially with first-person shooters. Games like Doom completely changed things. ID Software created what later became known as the ID Tech engine. The engine made fast first-person movement possible on hardware that was actually pretty limited. Developers quickly realized they built technology other studios wanted to use. So ID Software started licensing their engine to other developers. Engines stopped being just part of the game and became products themselves. That idea exploded with Quake. Quake introduced real-time 3D graphics that was completely revolutionary. In Doom, you couldn't really look up or down. In Quake, you could. For the engine, it meant the math for the entire world had to change. A lot of future FPS games were either inspired by it or directly built on technology connected to it. Developers quickly realized that different engines are built for entirely different things. Some are amazing for shooters, some are better for open worlds, some are easier for small indie teams. And sometimes studios realize an existing engine can't fully do what they want anymore. A famous example of this evolution is Valve. Half-Life was built on a heavily modified version of the Quake engine. But Valve didn't just use the tech out of the box. They rewrote massive chunks of the code to prioritize realistic environments. You see, at the time, most shooters mainly focused on speed and action. Valve wanted storytelling, scripted sequences, immersion, and realistic environments. They wanted to push games far beyond what anyone else was doing in the late 90s. And honestly, they did. That framework evolved into the Source engine, a backbone of 2000s gaming. When Half-Life 2 released, it felt revolutionary. The physics system alone blew minds. Objects had actual weight and buoyancy, allowing players to manipulate environmental props as core gameplay. And the biggest shift in that invisible math came next: Unreal Engine. Epic Games originally created Unreal Engine in 1998 for their own game, Unreal. Over time, it became the industry standard for pushing visuals, specifically in lighting, rendering, and cinematic environments. By the Unreal Engine 3 era, it so thoroughly dominated the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 that titles like Gears of War, Mass Effect, and BioShock all shared a signature Unreal look, a mix of gritty textures and high-gloss shadows. With Unreal Engine 5, the focus shifted to Nanite and Lumen. Nanite allows for massive geometric detail without manual optimization, while Lumen provides dynamic lighting that makes modern demos look like real-world footage. And that's where Unity entered the picture. While Unreal was a Ferrari, Unity was the Honda Civic. Its 2005 launch revolutionized the industry by giving small indie teams professional tools without corporate budgets. By the 2010s, Unity was everywhere. Games like Hollow Knight, Cuphead, and City Skylines provided just how incredibly flexible and accessible the engine could be. But then, things got incredibly messy. In late 2023, Unity faced a massive backlash after a controversial pricing model based on game installations. Developers felt betrayed, and dozens of prominent studios publicly considered abandoning the platform entirely. But I'm curious, do you think era of all-in-one engines like Unity is coming to an end? Or is the trust already broken? If you were building a game today, which engine would you bet your future on? Let me know in the comments. Of course, some developers stayed, some moved to Unreal, and others started looking at engines like Godot. Godot became popular partly because it's entirely open source, meaning developers can use, modify, and distribute it completely free of royalties. After the Unity pricing controversy, many indie developers started moving towards engines like Godot to avoid depending on large corporations. What makes the engine truly stick, however, is how intuitive it feels to build things. Godot uses a unique node and scene architecture. Everything in your game is a node, a character, a light source, or a sound effect, and you combine them like building blocks to create nested scenes. On top of that, its native language, GDScript, is heavily inspired by Python, making it incredibly lightweight, clean to read, and remarkably fast for prototyping ideas. Now, Godot still isn't as dominant as Unreal or Unity in the mainstream AAA space. Its rapid growth showed that many developers value creative control more than corporate ecosystems. And that's why some studios still build their own engines, even though it can take years and cost millions. Sometimes existing engines simply can't support the exact kind of game a studio wants to make. Rockstar is a good example. Their Rage engine powers games like GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. A huge reason why Rockstar keeps using its own engine is control. They can build technology specifically around massive open worlds and complex NPC interactions. But maintaining a custom engine is incredibly difficult. CD Projekt Red uses their proprietary Red engine for years, but after the massive technical struggles of Cyberpunk 2077, they officially abandoned it for Unreal Engine 5. The cost of maintenance eventually outweighs the benefits of control. But look at it from another angle. Sometimes engines accidentally create history. Many iconic mechanics were originally bugs or technical limitations. Rocket jumping in Quake only exists because the physics system pushed players away from explosions. Bunny hopping and various speedrunning exploits started the same way, unintended engine quirks that players turned into skills. This is why engines are so fascinating. They don't just render graphics, they shape genres and player behavior. We remember certain games as timeless simply because their engines were ahead of their time. The movement in Titanfall 2, the physics in Half-Life 2, or the AI in Fear. We remember these games emotionally because of the math running beneath them. Now, we're entering another huge shift where modern engines are becoming less like simple game software and more like massive digital worlds powered by AI, procedural systems, and real-time technology. Which honestly would have sounded completely insane 30 years ago. And yet, here we are. The weirdest part is, most players will never open Unreal, never touch Unity, but game engines still affect almost every gaming experience they've ever had. Because when a game feels smooth, responsive, immersive, cinematic, alive, There is usually an engine underneath quietly making that possible. Some of the most unforgettable moments in gaming were shaped long before the player ever pressed start. So, which engine defined gaming for you? Was it the physics of Source or the intensity of ID Tech? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, feel free to support the channel and subscribe. And let me know which gaming topics you'd like to see next. Stay awesome. Peace out.